So hello all, this is one of the EdTech Bytes sessions. This is bite-sized tech for big ideas. And today we're going to be talking about mastering circuit card building for those of you that are doing circuit cards with your classes. So getting started on the circuit card stuff, we created a one-pager. And so I'm really just going to go through that one pager with you and kind of demonstrate some things, tell you some of the things that are best practice that we've encountered over the last few years of doing this so that you are best prepared for when you do it with your classes. So in the preparation section, so this is before you actually start building the cards, I always like to hand out the supplies to my students. So in the preparation stage, removing batteries from the pack is a good thing to do before you start doing this with students. We have two different types of battery packs that we've gotten over the last couple of years. This pack, this orange one, super easy to just pop the battery out, but the old packs are blue. And those, you have to actually cut the plastic to get the battery out, which is very time consuming in a room of a lot of students. So do it before, or if you have older students, they can do it, but they're going to need the scissors, so be prepared. So just getting the batteries prepared, huge. And also the copper tape. You're going to get it in an, where'd it go? There it is. You're going to get it in an actual roll. And so it's not pre-cut for you. So we recommend about 2 feet worth, just guesstimate. Sure, that's about 2 feet. It's super easy to rip. You just hold with your nails, pinch it apart, comes right apart. Super easy. But that also means it's fragile. So be careful. The teacher people, they can handle it. Students, they need to be told several times that it's fragile. So super easy. You just give them their piece. I always like to put it on the student's desk and tell them, don't touch it until I tell you to. You'll always have 1 or 2 kids that touch it anyway, but at least most of them will be okay for the remainder of the time. And then the last thing in the preparation stage, when you're giving them their supplies, is the battery, once they actually have it, and the light bulb. What I do is I give them battery and light bulb first, and I tell them it's a challenge. So while you're sitting there and I'm passing out the rest of the supplies, I want you to figure out how to take your light bulb and touch it to the battery in a way that will light up the light bulb. One kid's going to get it right away, but a lot of kids are going to struggle with it a little bit, and that's okay. So the trick is the short leg goes on the textured side of the battery and the long leg goes on the smooth side of the battery. So it kind of straddles the battery a little bit there, and that's how you can get it to light up. When I tell kids that it is a challenge and not to tell anyone else, it keeps them busy for a few minutes while I'm passing out the other supplies. So that's something that you can start off with. Okay, so that's part of the challenge. That will also check your light bulb or your battery. Sometimes one of them is not going to work, and that's a good troubleshooting thing. Once you have passed out all the supplies, I like to have my students pick it up and everybody show me that their light turns on. That way I know that everybody's supplies are good so far. Then after that, have them separate the battery and the light bulb and put them on separate pieces of their desk, not next to each other, because if they are just hanging out on the desk lit up, it's not going to last. Their battery's going to die very quickly, and they might not even make it home and have it light up to whoever they're going to give it to. So I like to have them separate it, put it on separate parts of their desk so that we're just not going to worry about that. All right, next up, when they're actually working with the copper tape, if they take the backing off too quickly, the copper tape rolls up and then it's very hard to smooth out. This, I like to tell students that the smoother it is, the better connection they're going to get through the circuit. You can already see on this piece of copper tape how it's kind of crinkly. It's still going to work, but I like to tell kids that it's very fragile because you just have a better chance of it working out if they think it's very fragile and they're very careful with it. So when you're taking off the backing, it can start off a little difficult. Kids are going to say, oh, I don't have nails, I can't get it off. The trick is to just with your fingertip, hold it kind of close to the end here. And with your fingertip, just flick it back and forth a few times and it'll start to separate. Of course, mine's not working so great. It'll start to separate and then you'll be able to get that little piece and start pulling the backing off. Remember to go slowly so that the copper tape does not roll up on itself, just like that. Now I pulled it kind of quickly and then we got it rolling right away. All righty. Remind students that the copper tape is fragile and not to crumple it. All right. So in the actual building stage, once they're putting down their copper tape onto the piece of paper, you want to make sure that it's coming out as smoothly as possible. If students have some trouble with like their fine motor skills, or you just know that they're going to have some trouble, the smaller pieces, have them start with some of those, just so that they don't have a long piece that they're trying to put down. And when they're putting it down, as smooth and straight as possible, so slow is better. And then a tip that we like to give is to have them use the back of their fingernail to smooth it out so that it can be as smooth as possible with a hard surface that's not going to rip it. We don't want them to scratch it on because that's going to rip the copper tape because it is pretty fragile. But the back of your nail is a great way to just glide along, smooth it out, make sure it's secure. The corners, the overlapping of the cup of all the corners is one of the biggest problems of a card not working. That's usually why. We tell students to overlap, and I'll show you what that looks like. So let me tape this down. I'm going to take a piece, tape it down. Of course, this is not what the actual card is like on mine. I'm not actually making a card. I'm just showing you what a corner should look like. So a lot of students, when I say overlap, they will take the piece and they say, oh, that's overlapping, right? No, they're not touching. Nothing can get through from one piece to another. So I always have them kind of do like this and almost make like a T in the corner just to make sure it is really overlapped. I have students with their hands sometimes, with the littles especially, right? Elementary school, show me overlapping. This is not overlapping. This is overlapping. This is not. Reinforcing that they need to be touching for the current to be able to go from one piece of copper tape to the other to get from battery to bulb. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So we really need to make sure those corners are overlapped. All right, next, when they are working with the light bulbs have a little notch, which it's going to be difficult to see on here, but they have a little notch right up here. That's where you want them to bend. We don't want them to bend it at the base of the light bulb because you could break off a leg and then your light bulb's done for. Can't use it anymore. So we do a nail or a fingertip at the notch, and from there, bend. So I put my fingernail, I'll do it with the other one. I put my fingernail into the notch and bend. And we're not going to go back and forth because that's going to bend the leg all the way off. It's going to break. So we just want to make sure that we do one good bend on each one and keep it there. Then the next part, you're going to place the copper tape under and over the leg of the light bulb. So I'm going to have my copper tape down. I'm going to put my light bulb on top of the copper tape, and then I'm going to put another piece of tape over it in the same direction to secure it there. So let me actually do that so you can see what that looks like. This is not necessary, but we find that it gives the best results and the minimal amount of troubleshooting that you're going to have to do later when a few kids can't get theirs to light up. This is just an easy way to avoid some of that trouble. So let me tape this down so you can actually see what it looks like. And all I did was I had a piece of tape, I put the light bulb leg, and then I put a piece of tape directly over it. So both of them, both pieces of tape are going in the same direction across, one on top of the other with the leg sandwiched in between. That can be kind of a hard concept to show some kids. So if you have a document camera, which I wish I had one right now, that would be so much easier. But if you have a document camera, show this on the document camera. This is one of those steps that if they see it, they will understand it a lot better than just explaining. All right, so they built their cards. Oh no, mine won't light up. Here's our troubleshooting tips for what you can actually do to have the best success. I've only had like 2 that I couldn't make work. So these are all the tips that we have that we think will fix all your issues. So first thing, just run your finger over all the copper tape. Smooth it out as best you can, and have the students do this first, of course. But if you are now in troubleshooting mode because your student just cannot get it, secure all the tape. Make sure it is all down, all smooth, and not crinkly or not touching. Make sure you reinforce the corners. So if you get to a corner, and I'll show you an example of this lovely student just did not quite follow my directions. So here is where we are right here. They just did not overlap. There's no way that those are touching. An easy way to reinforce that I have found pretty successful is to take a piece and go across both pieces diagonally and just make an additional connection. So let me do that for you here. So instead of just overlapping those pieces over and over and over, I'm going to come at it at an angle to give it just more area that it can connect. Just an easy way, just add some more tape on there, make the connection better. All right. Another one that is always big is students just don't push down hard enough on the copper tape that's around the LED leg. So there's just enough of a little bubble in there over the leg that it doesn't have a strong connection. So I always go in there, I pinch it really good, make sure it's really on there. And that's just an easy tip. And the last one we have for you. It does tell you to put the battery facing down on your card. Now, some students don't know what that means, and they put the wrong side down, or they were just not following directions, or whatever. They did it wrong. Instead of taking the light bulb off, flipping the light bulb so that the positive is with positive, negatives with negative, all of that, instead of doing all that to the light bulb side, we're just going to take the battery that was misplaced, or for whatever reason it's not working, and just flip it. It is an easy way to check if that might be the issue. If your card doesn't light up and you tried everything else, flip the battery over, see if that works. That's it.